Hey there, BookTube. Noah. Everyone who reads it must converse is the channel. This is not going to be a book video, so if you're not interested in anything but books here, then you probably want to move on. This is a response video to Steve Donoghue's 2021 maybe Midrash announcement video. It's barely an announcement video, let me tell you, and two-thirds of the video, he, under the guise of clarification of terms, actually makes the claim that everybody is atheists. So it's something that I watched first in bewilderment and rewatched in horror, and just felt like, well, this is what maybe Midrash is all about, right? Let's open up a conversation and talk about what the claim is, what the feelings are about it, the different evidence, quote unquote evidence, that Steve Donoghue put out there for his claims, and have a conversation and see if there's a conversation to be had. If this is not your thing, please move on. No big deal. This is part of a event that goes on in May, in as far as BookTube, where we read spiritual texts as nonfiction and fiction, and there's a lot of discussion like that. And inevitably, last year as well, there is conversation that's just centered around belief systems, or atheist versus theist versus agnosticism, and exploring these kind of things. So let's get to it. So I'm not one that really likes drama, and I'm not really trying to cause drama or to enter into drama, but this is a thing where Steve, you know what you're doing. That's for sure. You're a smart guy, and you know what it is that the words mean that come out of your mouth, and exactly what you're saying. It's not that you can have your own opinion. You can believe what it is that you say you believe, and I accept that you believe that, or at least that you deeply think that you believe that, and it's fine. That's fine. And everybody is able to have that. But in the video, it is condescending laugh after condescending laugh when these claims are made. And the claims are actually taking away other people's, and called out a couple of people directly, and actually takes away their ability to have their own opinions and their own beliefs about themselves, saying, well, what they're saying they believe and what their conviction is, whether or not it's a deeply held conviction or not, what they're saying they inside are like is not what they're saying, and it's actually something different. And what that is better than they do, and better than most anybody does, is actually because the condescension in the laughter after these claims are made are that kind of thing where you feel as a watcher that this guy doesn't think that anybody could disagree with what he's saying, one, and if they do, well, they're an idiot. You know what I mean? Which is, it's just ridiculous. So the way that it goes is this. There's a clarification of terms. That's how Steve put it. And he says first that the hosts of the maybe Midrash are an illusion of a spectrum. There's two self-proclaimed Christians, one self-defined agnostic, and then Steve defines himself as a hard atheist. So there's, and Steve classifies that and says that is an illusion of a spectrum. We'll get to that. Right after, when he brings up atheism itself, says that atheism is an actual spectrum, because there is a spectrum of atheists, right? And I actually think that he says that atheism is an actual spectrum like anything else, which I don't know why other beliefs and convictions like that wouldn't be in that anything else, but whatever. There's soft atheism. Atheists that say they don't believe in God and they don't really care, and they just move on and they just kind of move through their life and keep trucking it, right? Then there's hard atheism. A hard atheist, of which Steve professes to be, makes the claim actually that there is no God very strongly, holds that belief very deeply. And more power to you. You know, fine, that's for sure. I'm not a big proponent of, believing one way or another. When it comes down to it, I personally believe that everybody is on their own path, and there is so many different levels of being and different places that people are on a spectrum of belief or non-belief that it's an evolutionary process. It is part of an evolution of the individual, and it's all individuals, and we'll get to that too. Along with soft atheists and hard atheists, there's agnostics. Agnostics don't believe in God, right? They don't know, they don't care, they say they don't know. And since they don't know, and since they don't consciously make that decision that they believe in God or don't believe in God, and they just say, well, I don't know, Steve says that that's an atheist because you don't believe in God. Okay? And, like I said, this kind of thing, being human and wrapping your head around what it is that you believe, and it's a process. It's always a process. It's always going to be a process. Even those that are in a certain belief or a belief system, for that matter, they're still within a process of belief. Belief itself is a spectrum. There's a tentative belief. There's more and more conviction. And then there's complete acceptance and absorption in something you might believe, right? The third part, the next that is part of this, clarification of terms put by Steve, is the Christians, okay? And Steve says that these two other hosts of the maybe Midrash are Christian, self-professed Christians, which makes them atheists to every other god that has ever been. Right? Not you don't believe in Osiris, so you're an atheist to Osiris. You don't believe in Shiva and Brahma because you're not Hindu, so you're an atheist to Hindus. I wonder if he would say the same about Allah. And I have no doubt that he would. When it comes down to it, there is a serious lack of understanding of what it means to believe and to have faith and what these terms really mean. So I think we're going to have to clarify some terms for real now. And I'll come back to what Steve said in his video a little bit more later on. But I'm going to respond to it first with a clarification of terms. In the video, all Steve is talking about is religion, this religion, that religion, Christian religion. All these people have religion. And there is a difference between religion and spirituality. And spiritual, that there is a spiritual side of what it means to be human. Now, spirituality is a belief, to me, now, spirituality is a belief that there is something bigger than what we can see, touch, tangibly with our senses, that has power, that is working, that is something that is a reality in our world. That is the beginnings of spirituality, a belief that there is something bigger in the world. Religion is this whole system of beliefs and, dogmas fit into that, and rituals and all that kind of things fit into religion. Religion is the outer practice of a spiritual person. So when it comes down to it, there is belief systems, huge belief constructs that are religions that have come up in human civilization and still ongoing. It always has been. It always will be, for sure. We have an idea now from scientific materialists that we're going to get past it in some way because it's something that is limiting or barbaric, maybe is a good word for it. At any rate, less than what a rational thinking modern mind would come up with in regards to their response to being human in this world. Another thing I wanted to clarify is the terms of belief and faith. Okay? Because, see, you don't have faith without belief. Belief is the beginnings of faith. You believe in something at first tentatively. At first, it's yeah, that makes sense to me, or that resonates with me, and you believe it, tentatively. After having a certain belief and testing it in the fires of life itself, that belief becomes more and more true to you. You have more conviction as to the validity of that belief. And then at some kind of critical mass, once the belief has enough experience, knowing behind it, seeing these kind of things in the world, then that leads to faith, where you can have faith in something. Because the faith is the belief that that thing is going to keep proving itself and keep on moving in future experiences. And then I want to talk about chance, because chance and randomness are a fundamental cornerstone of scientific materialism. That there is a reductionist view of how to understand the world and how to understand things. You break it down to its parts and you study its parts, and then you will understand the whole the better you understand the parts. And randomness. This is in science, physics, the Heisenberg uncertainty principle, which is pretty much a fundamental tenet now of quantum mechanics, and is illustrated by the Schrodinger's cat idea. That now, just to illustrate the way that this thing works is, okay, like, the Schrodinger's cat, there's a cat in a box, and the box is sealed, and there's a vial in it of poison that will break at a random time. You don't know when it's going to break, or if it's going to break today, tomorrow, 1 week, 1 year, okay? While the cat is in that box, and the box is sealed, and you can't know, and it's put somewhere, you can't know whether that vial has been broken or not. You can't know whether the cat is alive or dead or not until you observe it, right? Because it's completely random. So there is an equation there, and it is shrouded in this uncertainty, chance. What is the chances that it has happened yet? What is the chances of this, or the chances of that? I think we can all agree that when it comes down to it in applicable, like real world application, the cat is either alive or dead the whole time, right? There's no time that the cat is both alive and dead, or neither alive nor dead. But that's how, in physics and in this deep science, even mathematical science, that they're going to look at a system like quantum mechanics, look at an atom or an electron, where it's at and stuff like that. It's just a percentage, like a likelihood of it being here, there, or a likelihood of its movements. But they can't say with 100% certainty where, or where it's going, or where it is exactly in space. So it works for theorizing. But when we're talking about the real world, there is no such thing as chance. There is absolutely no such thing as chance on the face of this planet. Think about anything that you attribute chance to. So we'll go with something very simple. Rolling dice. If you hold a couple of dice in your hands and you roll it on the table, it is going to be very, very hard for you to predict what the dice roll is going to be, right? And that kind of thing is attributed to chance. Whatever dice, whatever things come up are completely random, right? But what if you had the exact same conditions, you held the dice the exact same way, and you threw the dice with the exact same angle and a momentum? They would land on the same thing, right? Because the thing is that there's just so many variables and everything is so complex that our minds cannot wrap around the idea and figure out all the different variables like that. And that's what we attribute to chance. That is what people mean when they say chance. They're talking about an unbelievably complex system that has so many variables, and even variables that we don't know, variables that you can't define. So it is attributed to chance. But in actuality, there is no such thing as pure chance. Same thing with coincidence. All right. Coincidence is a value placed on an event or something happening by an individual. Coincidence and things happening, the highest level of which is synchronicity, are purely associations made in the mind of individuals. There is no such thing as a real coincidence in the world. That is a construct so that we can understand things. That's the kind of thing that is. So, somebody who is in a scientific materialist state of mind and completely bent on it is... Okay, so we're done with clarification of terms now. Somebody who is in a scientific materialist state of mind and completely bent that this is the new God, okay? In scientific materialism, thoughts and feelings are not real, okay? They happen. They have value for the individual, but they don't have any way of seeing, observing, measuring, and objectively placing value to. And in a scientific materialist frame of mind, there is no such thing. There's no frame of reference for that. Thoughts, feelings, and I mean, I don't mean feelings like emotions, but that too. I mean feelings like whether somebody wants something or doesn't want something or is neutral about something. Those kind of things really matter in the real world. They are real. They do matter. They make things happen. People's thoughts and how they think about stuff dictate a a very large degree, if not most, of the activity that happens on our planet by human beings and how people feel about stuff as well. Another thing that is part of that doesn't get brought up is the imagination. So the imagination is a crucial part of being human. If you could not imagine something bigger for yourself, you would never think or you would never begin to believe that you could have anything different than what you have right now. You just be kind of sitting back waiting for things to happen to you and this kind of thing. Imagination is probably, I would say, more crucial to human beings and what the human experience is than thoughts or feelings. So these kind of things just really do they have to be brought to bear on the discussion of what people believe and whether they believe in something bigger than themselves. And that kind of thing is something that I see as scientific materialists are completely alienated from that. They're alienated from their own power in that way of thoughts, feelings, and imagination, for sure. Because you have to work into an understanding of what your imagination can do. So, things that brought me to that, and here's some more quotes from the video, that people that believe in God or gods, all belief systems, not just Christians, that they worry about what those gods are thinking. 2, that they try to conform their behavior for the future benefit from those gods. I mean, I'm not here to say that some people do or don't have that kind of experience, but if you think that God, the God that you believe in, is sitting there thinking, you have the wrong God. You have the wrong idea of what a God is. It is a completely impersonal. God is no respecter of individuals. God sees, what humanity is, and is just what it is. And, I don't use the term God when I'm talking about this kind of thing. I don't like it because I think there's so much beliefs, mental beliefs tacked onto what God is, that it muddies up the conversation. But if there is a God and you believe in a God that is, minute to minute or second by second, thinking about stuff and trying to and making up its mind about you, you have a very limited and God that is not in any scriptures. Scripture and the anthropomorphizing of God into like human terms, human ways of thinking, human ways of feeling something. I'm a jealous God. I'm envious of other gods. That kind of stuff. That is an effort to understand what something that is completely beyond understanding is, and something that an individual in their own path needs to wrestle with to understand for themselves. It is not for a blanket statement of what believers are doing, And so when it comes down to it, we'll move on to Steve had said that there's no evidence for God or for a higher power. I'm much more comfortable saying that kind of thing. There's no evidence for a higher power at work in our world, then, there's no evidence for that, but there is plenty of evidence against it, is what he says. And I think it's just the opposite, when it comes down to it. So I'd love to hear anybody's thoughts. So the thing is if you are alienated from these parts of yourself, which a scientific materialist mindset does to somebody, thoughts, feelings, and imagination, if you're alienated from those kind of things, then there is no weight or no value placed on what you feel, on intuition, and on gut feelings and intuitional responses that aren't rationally worked out and consciously thought through. They're just impetus for action or belief. Those kind of things are real, okay? And if you're alienated from that, then no value is placed on that. And that's what I saw for sure is happening. The rational mind is only a part of what it means to be a human being. I think everybody can agree on that the rational mind is not the whole of the story. But when somebody is fighting, a scientific materialist worldview, then that is all that it is. And it's not that they're placing a value on the collective rational mind at all, because people, the common denominator of people is pretty low as far as intelligence, wisdom, ability to really work through even what they believe. The common denominator is pretty low, so it's not a value placed on collective rational thought, but their own, just your own. You know what I mean? It's super short-sighted in that way. And that leads to some evidence. One of the big pieces of evidence that I can say for that there is something bigger at work in our world than just what we can see, touch, taste, feel, hear, what we can observe with our senses. And that is that there is a impetus for this kind of exploration and resonating with, and the cause of belief that gets grabbed onto by all kinds of individuals, regardless of cultural predisposition, regardless of upbringing, regardless of means, regardless of anything. It comes from inside. It is part of what it means to be human being, is to have these kind of questions and to enter into this kind of exploration. Subconscious intelligence or unconscious intelligence is another evidence. There is so much that our bodies do that is completely awe-inspiring and beyond our understanding. How does DNA work? Your body is, right now, your DNA is making copies of itself and doing amazing things, cleaning toxins out of your body. Your cells are cleaning toxins out of your body and moving energy from here to there, replicating themselves and doing away with old parts of cells and cells themselves. And this kind of stuff happens completely unconsciously, subconsciously. There is a huge amount of DNA that scientists call junk DNA. They don't know what it, they can't define what it is, what it does, how it works. But are we to believe that seriously, that all that is completely unnecessary? Just because some scientists don't know what it is and they label it junk DNA, that this is unnecessary? This whole world has been constructed and built evolutionary speaking, and all the constants, as far as physics, and the order that is present in nature and in the cosmos, and in just what we see and how the world works, are we to believe that there's no intelligence behind that? And I'm not saying that it's a being like you or me or some kind of thinking thing. There's not, there's no God that's sitting here thinking about stuff and making that kind of thing happen. It is part of reality. There is intelligence behind what is going on here. And that kind of thing is evident in the fact that we have grown out of it. Humans are not separate from the earth. We're not separate from nature. We're not separate from the star, the sun, or the other stars, or the cosmos as a whole. We are part of it. We are a product of it. And we're just as much part of it as everything else. So when it comes down to it, science itself and this scientific materialism, that's a belief. That's a belief system. That's a belief that people hold. And you're able to hold any belief that you want. And you can gather evidence for it, and then it becomes a conviction, and then you have faith in it. Right? You have Steve directly now. You have a lot of faith in science, right? You have a lot of faith in the things that you believe when you don't know. You don't know. You can't know that the world is random and complete chance. You can't know that. Nobody knows that. That is a theory. That is a theory that was brought up by and comes from math. And there is so much math that is speculative, and it is at best, the stuff is a model for how the world works and how reality works. So models are not the reality itself. Models are models. And they give predictive power, and then people believe in those models. And then when they prove themselves more, people have faith in those models. So belief leads to faith. And science has just as much dogma associated with it as any belief system that you want to call out as far as a spiritual belief system. But I'll end it there. I want to know if anybody has any thoughts, please leave them in the comments. And have a good one, BookTube. Happy maybe Midrash. Let's get to it. Bye.